Hello to all of my loved ones. How are you all doing? It's Love Marlene 411. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, we're back once again. You guys already know what it is. So, we're here for the sip and chat today. To all of my loved ones, I'm Love Marlene 401. And on this channel, we talk about all of the love things because I feel it's so important to focus on how we love. Because if we heal, we fix, we're happy, we can trickle it down to anyone that we encounter and we can show love to them as well. So I'm waiting for my co-host, Miss Nexie, as she comes up. Okay. Okay, Miss Nexie, I'll wait. I'm going to get it started. So welcome everybody to this sip and chat. Today we're going to be talking about why some people are the way that they are, why some people are incapable of love. And I've come up with my system, what I think are 7 reasons why some people do not show love or are incapable of love. And of course, there are so many reasons why a person can be the way that they are. Oh, thank you so much, Miss Nexty, for the super sticker. We have to acknowledge that. And I'll be right back after this brief super chat hit song. Thank you so much, Miss Nexty. Okay, everybody. So we're going to get started. Before then, I was so rude. I didn't even ask all of my loved ones, what are you guys sipping on today for the topic? Let me know in the comment section below. Okay. So let's talk about this, shall we? Why some are incapable of love. What is your thoughts and your opinions when it comes to why do you think some people are incapable of love? We're going to get into all of those, but I always want to hear what my loved ones have to say. Okay. But I'm going to start with the first one. Okay. My first reason I think why some people are incapable of love is you got to ask yourself this question. What makes some people open their hearts while others keep theirs closed? That's a good question. Sometimes we look at people in the dating arena and we wonder what happened to them, like what happened to you, who ruined you, who messed you up. And everybody doesn't have the same experiences. I don't claim to know how another person feels at all. I know that so many people come from a really harsh background, but my question always is what makes some people open their hearts while others keep theirs closed? Interesting thought, right? Have you ever thought about this and reasons with maybe friends, coworkers, even people on social media? I'm going to say my first reason I believe that some people keep their hearts closed while others have theirs open. My number one thing I think is because of childhood trauma. Nobody is immune from what happens when you were a little kid, when you were a little boy or a little girl. When they were just born and, you can't help, the family that you are born into. And so much things happen. There's a lot of things that children see that they should never see. And this causes many people to react the way that they do, and can you really blame people for some of the things that was done to them as a child, the trauma that they've seen, the things that was told to them? I think, yeah, it's not something that is impossible because I can't say, I know what it is to walk in somebody else's shoes, but I came from a very traumatic childhood, a very dysfunctional family. And, it wasn't perfect, which I don't think anybody's family unit and background is perfect, but it was definitely dysfunctional. And I know that I saw a lot of things that I should not have seen. But I was the type of person that, because of my trauma, I think I became overly kind, overly sweet, overly nice, probably more open than other people. Whereas I can't understand why others, when they go through some childhood traumas and they see certain things, why they would close off their heart, because the examples that they saw, parents, grandparents, aunt, uncle, guardian, wherever, however they grew up, because of what they saw. I've heard a lot of people say this. Oh, they'll never be me. Yeah, I don't have to worry about it. I'm never going to get in a relationship, because who they saw, how they saw their mother, father, aunt, uncle, grandparent, guardian, caregiver take care of them, and the pain and the trauma that they inflicted on either them, or they saw things that they shouldn't have. Because a lot of adults in their relationships, they let children see some things that they should not have. So many children grow up seeing a DV situation, or if it's not direct physical assault, they hear the verbal, and it takes a toll on them. The verbal abuse, always berating maybe their parents or other people who were in the home, and they've seen things, and that brings trauma into their mind, into their heart from a very early age. And the things that you see when you are younger, it really does affect you. And let's welcome in Realist One here. Hashtag slide accordingly. Thank you so much for being here, Realist. How are you doing? Happy Thursday. Shout out to the mods. Appreciate y'all. Whether even the ones that are in the bushes, because my mods will drop out the bushes. Okay. Don't think nobody is in here. They're in the background, okay? Thank you, guys. And I still haven't seen anybody say what they're sipping on today. I'm still waiting to hear what you guys are sipping on. And don't be afraid of that like. Hit that like if you're enjoying the content. So, I want to say this. When some people see things, I know that you can't unsee it, but why is it that some individuals see things in their childhood, go through things in their childhood, and appear to be normal, have healthy, happy relationships, while others, they see things and it causes them to act just like what they saw? What is the difference? Is it what kind of psychological impact? How did it impact them? The way that they talk to others, the way they talk to other people. Why do some people just seem to be unaffected? And why is it that others are affected so much? I think it's a very interesting conversation, this topic right here, because so many people go through things. We all go through stuff. Not nobody is immune from family problems, and it doesn't matter if you grow up very rich or very poor. It has nothing to do with how much money is in your bank account, because I've seen the rich and I've seen the poor go through it. I see my co-host Miss Nexie in the background. Let's welcome her to the sip and chat. Miss Nexie, welcome. Are you there? I want to know if you're there first. I don't hear you yet. I don't hear anything yet. I'll wait, Miss Nexie. We'll see. We'll see if you come back. So while we're waiting on Miss Nexie, let's continue on with this topic. Okay. Let's go to the point number two, and we'll come back once Miss Nexie gets her
Can you
audio.
hear me, Miss Marlene? Okay.
Okay. I think I hear you now.
I think I'm back.
Yes, I do.
I don't know
Hold
what's
on.
going on today. It's been a day. Okay, wonderful.
Okay. Hi, Miss Nexie. How are you doing?
Good in yourself, Miss Marlene. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for being here. And you know how we have to welcome you to the Sip and Chat, Miss Nexie. Miss Nexie, what are you sipping on?
Plain old water, Miss Marlene, with a little bit of sea salt in it. Just a little bit and ice. Over ice. Can you believe that? Over ice.
Wow.
I
Okay,
know.
okay, all right, all right.
I'm bougie today. I'm
Oh,
just
you're bougie
living the
today.
life. Just
Miss
living the
Nex
life.
yes. Miss Nexie, you won't believe what I'm sipping on.
What are you sipping on, Miss Marlene?
Miss Nexie, in Florida, it is hot, hot, hot. Okay, hot, humid, all of those things. So I'm not really this type of person, but today I am having a peach iced tea.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Yeah, I'm having a peach iced tea today.
Get in
You
the
girl,
sun.
I'm trying to work on my girlish figure, trying to get myself summertime fine. So, I gotta pull back on the Cavorcier and, you
Oh,
know, those
whoa,
things.
that's a lot of words. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, if I can understand you correctly, you're getting ready for summer so you can look good. That's what you meant, right?
Yes.
I'm just kidding. A mouthful. That was a mouthful. And how is that tea? Is that tea in the spot?
Oh, it is extra with lots and lots of ice, just like I like
Oh,
it. Yes.
I don't like ice per se, Miss Marlene, but today is super hot in Cali. And
Mhm.
even though we're indoors and we have the AC on and we're trying to keep kind of cool, calm and collected because this heat is just unbelievable. I wanted it something over ice. So my coffee this morning over ice. I don't like iced coffee, but it's so hot that it tasted delicious. And
Yeah,
now I'm just having water over ice. And I'm like, what is so wrong with me?
I
What
know.
is this getting to me? And by the way, Miss Marlene, you just made someone very unhappy.
Oh, I already
I just
know.
have you know. I just have you know. I had to take the iPad. I mean, not very happy person right now, Miss Marlene. So I'm not
I
gonna say
know.
anything.
I'm not the most favorite person right now on both ends. On your end,
Uh oh.
with your on your side, but on my side because my door is locked.
Oh, mine too.
Yeah, and somebody does not like when the door is locked. They go up to the
I
door
said,
like, "Hello, open it. Hello, open it."
well, I have to tell you. I said, can I use the iPad? He's like, no. I said, I have to talk to Auntie Marlene. I need the iPad. Okay, 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 okay. So, you know, passing the buck.
Uh-oh,
It's not my
Miss
fault.
Nexie. Miss Nexie, I'm getting some comments that they said that they can't hear you very well. Your volume is low.
Is it? I try to. What about now? Can you hear me now?
I think it's a little better. A
It's a
little.
little better. It's the connection is so weird right now. The internet is acting up, and then, but they're charged up, so I know I can hear you perfectly fine. But I'm sure you're probably having a little bit of a hard time listening to mine.
Well, I have on my Bluetooth, so I hear you perfectly because my sound is on 100.
Oh, I hope you can hear.
Yeah.
But yes, I blamed you for everything, so I hope you don't hold it against me, Miss Marlene. I
No,
needed someone to blame.
I don't hold it against you, but Maybe realists will. Maybe realists will.
He didn't get to see the panda though, so he's
I
fine.
know.
He,
I know. Okay, Miss Nexie, let's get this started, shall we? Let's talk about this topic. Why are some men or women incapable of love? I'm going to let you start. I started off talking a little bit. I'm not sure what you heard, but I started talking off and saying that what makes some people open their hearts while others keep their heart closed? Well, I want to hear your thoughts on this first.
I'm someone that I'm a very caring person. I like to help people. I'm very caring, very in touch with my feelings. But what I found out through therapy is that those feelings I do have for for other people, for humanity and stuff like that, are kind of on the surface, because when it comes to allowing people into my heart and taking them in wholeheartedly, it's something that I have a hard time doing, because I was so hurt when I was so young, when my mom left, and everything that we had to endure by her departure, and my father being a single dad, and so I have a hard time letting people in because of the fear of abandonment, right? So I was trying to understand if I was that type of person that was incapable of loving, because of kind of like the first session was, you know this is how why you keep people at arm's length, and you only allow certain people in. And so I started thinking, questions to ask, as far as, am I incapable of? What I had discovered on my part is that I am very much capable of loving people and allowing. What I was incapable, and I say was because I have worked so hard to overcome that. What I was incapable of doing was to trust their love for me was the same as it was from me to them, right? So that's why I always protected myself, thinking that they were not going to be able to, or they were incapable of loving me the same way I was loving them. And so I have overcome that. I have learned to accept that even if I lose that person, by not allowing myself to love them at 100% without reservations, I'm cheating myself out. So it was the fear of abandonment, I think, that was stopping me from actually letting people in.
Yeah, and that's a real thing, Miss Nexie. Thank you so much for being so transparent and sharing that, because that's not an easy thing to say. If you've ever been abandoned by anybody in your life, it can start from your childhood, it can be from siblings. And I also thought about rejection, like when you start school, like friendships and people reject you. So I think sometimes by the time you get to the age where you start dating somebody and you already started off and you were rejected by your family unit, then when you go to school, you're rejected by your peers, and then, you know, you already have your guard up, even though the person that you are getting to know has done nothing to you. You've already been abandoned and hurt, you know, so often in your life already, that you show up with, your rose colored glasses on, your shields are up, you're like, I'm never going to allow anybody to hurt me. That's what I think. uh,
Subconsciously,
a lot of people show up that way.
yes, Miss Marlene, subconsciously, I think, I'm sorry to butt in there, but it was the right moment to do so. That's what subconsciously we do. We don't know that that's what we're doing, right? Putting those walls, or keeping people at a distance. And for me, I had to learn that even if they hurt me, right? If they hurt me, they left or the friendship ended. The fact that I had the capacity to love someone wholeheartedly is what fulfilled me. It allowed me to see that yes, I can do that. Now, what I have learned as well through, a lot of therapy, Miss Marlene, we're very vocal about that. We have been healed and still in a healing process thanks to therapy. So I'm not gonna shy away from that. But thanks to therapy, I had learned too that I cannot make people love me the way that I love them, and that sometimes in life we come across people that we love at 100%, expecting the same love in return because they're biologically your makers, right? They made you. You expect them to love you without reservations, without anything. But I had to learn. I had to accept, Miss Marine, not learn. I had to accept. I had to admit to myself that my biological mom was never going to be able to love me the way that I wanted her to because she wasn't capable of, because she wasn't healed. So I had to admit that to myself. I had to accept that to myself. I had to overcome that myself. And I had to continue to love her the way that I know how, regardless of whether she was able to return that to me.
Yeah. And that's a difficult thing, is learning to you're trying to heal, because when you don't, you let your life be stagnant, but at the same time you're fearful of somebody else hurting you once again, and you're like, I don't know if I should trust. And then if you open up your heart to somebody and then they hurt you, then it's like, see, I knew it. I knew it was going to be like this. See, everybody always hurts me. So I do get the reason why many people have their guards up. But at the same time, like you, Miss Nexie, um, I grew up in a dysfunctional family, and now, I'm not saying that you did, but I'm saying we had the same experience where we each got help through therapy. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family. So much stuff happened in my childhood that I felt was traumatic. And the thing about it, when I tried to speak about that with my relatives, even in my adulthood, it happened many years before. And when you try to bring it up, they always play the victim, and that brought me more trauma. You know what I'm trying to say? You're trying to talk about, share your personal truth. This was my experience, and still, it's there. Some people never come to terms with it, because there's zero accountability
That
with them.
also, they're incapable of seeing that. They're incapable of accepting. Okay, this young one wants me to admit that I am wrong. I'm her elder. I'm not wrong. She's younger. She doesn't understand, right? They always trying to think of us as this little thing that doesn't comprehend what life or love is all about. But the thing for me, Miss Marlene, is that um again, I had to, when I did, we all come from a somewhat dysfunctional family, which I wanted to clear that up. I did too, Miss Marlene. We all do. We have, some siblings that we don't get along with. We have some uncles and aunties that, they're like a foot away from their rocker. And you know what I mean? Like, they shouldn't be
Yeah.
let out in society. That's it. Oh my God. But you know, our families are, all dysfunction. Even us, I think we make mistakes with our children. But what I had to, I think, come to terms with was that I couldn't fix those people, right? I only could fix me. I only could fix me to understand and give them a pass to, hey, this is how they are. They're not healed, right? I have to understand that they're not in the same wavelength that I am, thanks to, therapy and a lot of other things that I have done. that they can never understand the words that are coming out of my mouth because it's not in their vocabulary, right? For me to say, you hurt me, when I was little, you said this, and for them, get over it. What's the big deal? You're old, you're grown, you have kids, you're okay. And me saying, no, I'm not. I deserve an apology first. So I had to let it go and stop myself from going to those people that really hurt me as a child and expected them to apologize or acknowledge that they had. I had to come to terms with that and fix that within myself, saying, you know what, I release and let it go. They will never be able to, because in their mind, they haven't hurt you, they haven't harmed you, they haven't done anything to you because they are right. They're the elders, they are allowed to express themselves.
Miss Nexie, your volume's going in and out.
Oh my God, I'm telling you, Miss Marlene, I
Yeah,
can't get it.
now
Look at
now
my
I
nose.
think I don't know how far away you are from the microphone, but
I'm
if
very close. I'm very close. Very,
wow,
very close. But you guys can hear me.
okay.
Can you hear
Well,
me?
we'll just I hear you, but it goes in and out from time to time. So we'll just push
It's
through.
it's the connection, Miss Marlene. It's my connection. I'm telling you. And I'm so close to the microphone and everything. Like, I hear you perfectly fine. But, sometimes it does go in and out. I hear a little bit of, static and stuff. But I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yeah, I hear you now, but we're just gonna push through anyways. So let's go to the next point. And another reason why I think that some people are incapable of love is, unfortunately, so many people are victims of abuse. And abuse, Miss Nexie, like we've talked about many, many times, it comes in many forms: verbal, emotional, sexual, spiritual, financial. It's a very wide chasm. So I want to hear your thoughts on what impact do you believe that abuse has on a person's capacity to love?
Well, as you said, and we have voiced it here before, is, abuse does a number on people. And I don't know about everybody else, but I'm speaking about me, right? You and I have been very open about, the essay abuse we suffered and the years of um, pain that we went through because we couldn't understand what had happened to us and why it had happened to us, right? So for me, again, I can speak for me, and I think I can speak for you as well. The trusting of others, what SA does to you, or emotional, or even sometimes money, right? When people abuse your trust with money, I think that for me, what it does is it regresses me a little bit on my healing. Growing up, I didn't really trust anyone outside my very small circle of people, my father, my sisters, my brothers, and probably, I kept it limited to just those people that I trusted with everything about me at 100%, but nobody else. Even, I've had best friends that, I have apologized to because even though they were my best friends for many years, I always kept things from them and always kept them, at a distance because I didn't trust. So for me, what, the SA did is he blocked me from the ability of trusting people. He blocked me from the ability to see people in their natural state. I always thought, men or women, that they wanted it something from me and that they were going to do something to me. So, it didn't allow me to even my husband, it didn't allow me to love him the way that I would have if I would have never been, SA. I loved him saying I didn't, Miss Marlene, but it wasn't, to the point where, hey, if we break up, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I'm gonna be, it wasn't like that. It's like, okay, it happened, it happened. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But healing through therapy and stuff like that allow me to be a little bit more open with the idea of me allowing him in my heart, and at least 80%.
Yeah.
I
I,
always
I
out.
I can say for myself, Miss Nexie, when it comes to abuse, because I've encountered different forms of abuse, that I've always been the type of person where I always am looking at somebody out of the side of, like, side eyeing them, like, okay, I'm waiting for you to do something to me. Like, this is too
I'm
good to
waiting
be
for
true. You're too nice. Hmm.
I'm waiting for that shoe to drop, right, Miss Marlene?
Yeah. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop because it's like it's too good to be true. And they always say, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is. And that's not good because so many of us, we miss out on such good relationships and friendships and experiences in life because what happened to you, you go through life jaded, and that's not a good space to be in.
Exactly, Miss Marlene. That's the exact word. You go it through life that way because even like I said, like the only people that I have been able to love wholeheartedly at 150%, I will say, are my children. I didn't have any reservations with them. I don't have any reservations with them. They are loved to the full capacity of my heart. But those are the only people that I actually like that. And it saddens me because, after, of course, I'm able to do more now, right? Loving someone, caring for someone, trusting someone more than I did before I did therapy.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's always there. It lingers. It's not something that you heal, right? Because you're going through therapy. You work your tush off, get to the point where you're on the same state. But what had happened to us, it doesn't go away. It's there. We can deal with it as the memories come about. We can work on the way we feel about it, right? We can stop blaming ourselves because there's a point where you will, I'm sure, Miss Marlene, blame yourself for what happened because I
Yeah,
did the same
of
thing,
course. Of
you know.
course, that's the natural fallback. Is as soon as something happens, you want to blame yourself and ask yourself, what have I done and what did I do because of abandonment or because of abuse or trauma or whatever somebody else did. So I think it's a good and a bad thing that you're that way, because at least we're not individuals that will just say, oh, it's always them, the ones who always find fault with everybody and they never are accountable. I feel because of my past, I'm very aware of other people. I think I have a very high emotional intelligence. I can really pick up on people's energy very easily. And that's the reason why I can't be around people who are very sad. I pick up on that really quickly because I know what that feels like. I know how it feels to be rock bottom. I know that feeling well. So I have a lot of compassion for people. And sometimes when you are so kind and compassionate, people take advantage of that. So I have to be very careful about how I deal with people, because I'm the type of person, because there was such a long period of my life that I was unloved. I tend to over, or as they call, smother. So I'm very cognizant of it. So I'm like, okay, Marlene, pull back, chill, give him a breather. Like, I have to talk to myself sometimes because I don't mean any harm, but I think because there was such a long period of time where I didn't get the validation, I didn't get the support and the abandonment and etc. that happened. I always make sure the people that I love that they know it. Like you're not going to have to guess. You're going to know through you know validation, acts of service, many different ways. Because what happens is sometimes we may think that people don't love us, and that will. This is the part that was crazy for me, Miss Nexie, when I was growing up. I always thought that my parents never loved me, but I didn't understand until I became an adult and went to therapy that they were loving me in their love language and not in mine.
Exactly. That's the term that I had to come to, about 5 years ago. That, whatever I was expecting from, my mom, I was not gonna get it because her loving me on her own way is different than what I was expecting, because that's the way I love my children, right? So I was expecting that unconditional, that, I've tried for years, Miss Marlene, and I mean years, to have her, love me the way that I loved her, right? But I came to the realization that she can't do that. She's not capable of doing that. And even though I realized that as I was going through therapy, I couldn't implement that idea, that actually I couldn't implement the me accepting that she couldn't, and accept her for that. I couldn't do that for the longest time. I kept on going, no, I'm going to try harder. I'm going to do more. I'm going to be more available. I'm going to try to be there, like, every other month at her place to make sure she's okay. And I had to, come to understand that no matter what I did, she was never going to be able to give me that love back, because she wasn't capable, at least to me. She's capable with my brothers. I've seen it, but she's not capable of giving that to me. So I had to come to terms. I had to understand, and I had to implement, distancing myself from her so that I could heal in the process of acceptance. And that's what I did. Uh, 5 years ago I started the process. 3 years ago is when I said, okay, I'm done. When my dad too passed away, I said, I'm done. I can't do anymore for you, because I'm the one hurting myself when I see that time and time again you disappoint me with one thing or another, right? So I had to let go, and Miss Marlene, I'm very, very happy. I don't have to worry about, oh, have I called her? Or, I mean, do I have to go visit? Do I have to go through all my stuff? I have to make myself uncomfortable so that, you know, eh, the love that I had and wanted it is no longer there, no longer needed. Do I want to go feel weird about it? No. So I had to do that. I had to distance myself and heal. And that's what I've been doing for the past 3 years. I have seen her and I have visited, but nothing more than just, you know, I think it was once a few months ago, and that's it. I'm not gonna put myself in that, uh, how can I put it, that anxiety written state of mind just because I have to
I
go.
Miss Nexie, I think what you're trying to say, and I went through that for so many years, waiting for that person to love you like you love them.
Hmm.
I,
Yeah. So I'm
and it
okay
was a
with
long time.
Yeah, and I'm okay, Miss Marlene. I don't go through the stressfulness of, oh, I have to go because she's, mom, right? I have to do this because she's mom. Now I'm to the point where I said, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do it when I'm comfortable doing it, not and because I want to, not because I have to,
Mm.
right? So now I'm to the point that if I don't visit, if I don't call. If she doesn't call, I'm okay with that. It doesn't bother me anymore. It doesn't hurt me anymore. Before it used to, because she will come, because she lives like 2.5 hours away from us, and she will come visit my brothers, and I'm on the way to one of my brother's houses, and I wouldn't even know she was here. I found out she was here when she was at home, and I will call and say hi, and she's like, "Oh yeah, I went to see your brother," and I'm like, "I'm on the way. Like, couldn't you come and say hi?" You know what I mean? So that will hurt me before. Now I'm like, it doesn't matter. I'm okay. I'm cool.
Mhm. See, my thing, Miss Nexie, is I'm not to the point where you are where it's cool because it still hurts me. But when someone shows me who they are, now I'm at the point where I believe them. I don't take it and say they're trying to hurt me. I don't take it personally. Whereas before, I used to be like, why are they always hurting me? And I would be like all in my feelings, crying, upset, angry. Where now I know that it's not me. That's them. That's the choice that they have made. It's not an intentional thing. So when I allowed myself to process that it was not a personal attack, they're not trying to hurt me, that's their own issues, that helped me to be able to then learn to love myself, that I don't have to be like them. I can be completely different. I don't have to waste my time, trying to run behind them, hey, you want to hang out? Hey, you want to do this? Are you okay? And like always telling them you love them, waiting for them to say, hey, I love you back. Like, don't waste your time because it's not going to happen. So another thing for me, my number three thing when it comes to why I think some people are incapable of love, some people just have a very cold personality. Not everybody is a warm person, and some people just have a like what is it, a flatline personality, and you can't make a person bubbly or a
Eh,
person who's that way. That's just how some people are.
yeah, and it's true, Miss Marlene. Again, we're the type, and I can include you in this because you and I are very similar on how we, love people and how we do things. And I was with someone that I care about very, very much. And the one thing that it always made me angry is that this person couldn't feel the pain, or couldn't have the heart to help. Let's say, let me give you an example. A homeless person, right? Um, and I'm telling you because at that point is when I went through what you just said earlier, the acceptance of this person is just cold-hearted, like cold personality. That's how he is. There's nothing I can do. It's been years that I've been going through this dilemma, but I had not accepted that that's who he is, right? So we're somewhere, and I'm about to buy food for me and my kiddo and this other person, and there's this gentleman in front of me. You could tell he was a homeless man, and he's paying for whatever he's getting, but he doesn't have enough money, and he's buying just three things. And so he tells her, "Okay, take one out, and now check and see if I have enough." And the lady says, "No, you don't," and then he's like, "Okay, then let's take this one out and just ring this hard-boiled egg, right?" And she's like, "You're missing like 15 cents." And I'm right next to him, and I said, "Just give me a minute." I said, "Do you mind if I buy you food, if I buy them for you?" And he's looking at me, he's like, "Oh, no, no, you don't have to." I said, "No, no, I know I don't, I just want to." So, the process is I buy him that, plus I said anything else to eat. I go order something, get a warm meal. I go, and something to drink. I'll pay it. So he gets it, and long story short, he sits down. sits down and he's thanking me for this, and I sit down, and then this person that was with me says, "Why is he thanking you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" "Yeah, well, why does he keep on thanking you?" I said, "Oh, just something at the register." He's like, "Oh my God, you bought him food?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "What is wrong with you? Why do you keep on enabling these people?" And I looked at him and I said, "Enabling?" I said, "Do you think he has a choice?"
Mm,
I said, "I'm enabling." I said, "This and was trying to buy himself didn't ask me to offer." And enabling, I said, I go, "Do me a favor." I said, "I know you don't believe in this and God." I said, "But you know what? Do me a favor." I said, "Pray to the whatever God it is that you believe in, that you will never end up in that situation." I said, "Enabling, how do you?" And I had to accept.
this next to your mic is going out again.
Oh no. Can you hear me now?
It just came back, but it was out. So I
I
didn't
have
hear a little bit about what you just said.
Oh no, he did you hear when I said he said that I was enabling these
Yeah,
people?
I heard. Hmm.
So I said enabling. I said, "You know what? I know you don't believe in God, but pray to whatever God or whatever it is that you believe in, that you never end up in a situation like this." I said, "I'm not enabling. I bought a hungry man a meal." He's like, "You're always doing that, so you continue to enable them." I said, "Again, it wasn't your money. I bought a man a hot meal, and he's grateful for the fact that I did that." And so, I got very angry, but then I started realizing this person is incapable of feeling others' pain,
Hmm.
capable of understanding that not all of us are blessed enough to have, you know, a place to live, food in a fridge, money, a little bit of money in our bank cards, a good job, mental health. You know what I mean, Miss Marlene?
Hmm.
We got to pray to God that we stay that way so that we can continue helping people. But I had to understand that this person is incapable of
Yes.
feeling that. So even though I got upset and I went off on this person, I said, "You know what? This is not the first time he does that, because every time I will, bring pizzas to a group of, homeless people, or bring him whatever it is that I had available, he would always make it a huge deal. Like, why are you helping? Worry about your kids and yourself." And I mean, like, why? My kids are taken care of. I'm okay. Why can't I worry about everybody else? But again, I had to understand at that moment that that person will never change. He just has a cold personality. That's all,
Mhm.
which is what I
Yep, I understand that, Miss Nexie, because we encounter people with cold personalities in so many different aspects. How many of us have had management, on a job just cold, like flatline, some relatives, flatline personality, and romantic relationship, flatline personality. So, sometimes people would tend to put that and say, oh, it's a man thing. It's men that are that way. But that's not true, because I've seen women with cold personalities too. So it's not a gender specific thing. It's
don't.
just based on what a person has chosen in their life. And I can say, Nexie, coming from where I came from, I had every reason to be a cold person. Like I could be just like the cold hearted snake. Like I would have every reason to be bitter, angry, conniving, manipulative. I would have every reason to be that because of the cards that was dealt to me, the life that I've had. But I'm not, because I make a
Mhm.
choice to
It's the
not.
choice that you
Oh,
make, and that's what I tell people. Your choices define who you are, right? I, the same way as you, Miss Marlene, with whatever life gave me growing up and to this day, I could choose to be that type of person. Forget it. I don't care. It's their choice, right? They want to be there. They're going to be there. That's their problem. But I can't do that. I cannot turn away. That's my problem. I want to help everybody in the world. Do whatever, do whatever I can for them. And if I have extra time, I donate my time. It's my choice to do that. But I cannot expect people like, like this person that I was telling you about. I cannot expect them to understand that it's a choice that we make. We choose to be grateful, for
Yes.
what we have been given. We choose to give a little bit of ourselves to others, so hopefully they can pay it forward one day to somebody else, because that's the whole point. Some people don't know how to be like this. Sometimes from you they learn, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
chose this life. I chose to be this person. So I had to understand that that person made the choice to be cold hearted, cold personality, me, F the world. Then that person's choice. And I have to respect that. I cannot expect this person to understand where I'm coming from, even though we've been in each other's life for so long and still arguing about the same things of me helping others. So I had to understand that I will never change his mind, right? But he had to learn that day and understand that he will never be able to change mine as well. And that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
You come out
Yeah.
triumphant saying, yes, I finally, it finally clicked. This person is just someone that, will not be able to feel the beauty of the love for others as I do. And I got to
Right.
accept it. That's it.
Yeah, and that's the one thing that I'm so grateful for. I know it may sound something very strange, but I'm grateful for the things that has happened to me in my life, because if I didn't know about the bitterness, the harshness, the coldness, the backbiting, you know, the the way people can treat you in life, I think my heart wouldn't be as open, and I wouldn't be as kind, and I couldn't be able to talk to others on the level that I talk to them, because I can't say I know how somebody feels, because everybody feels things differently, but I know that I can be kind, I can be compassionate, I can listen to somebody, because I've always said that. What does it take from you to give another human being 10 seconds of your time? What is
Exactly.
that going to take from you?
Exactly. And that's the whole point, is that it's not going to take anything from you. But I also understand that some people can't feel that the way that we do. For whatever reason, they cannot, they will never be able to understand, the way that you and I are. That's about it. And we got to be okay with that.
Yeah, and you have to be okay with that. So, Miss Nexty, we're here on, I think we're on point 4, I believe, but this is a real thing that it sounds crazy and weird if you grew up, with the huggy kiss kiss, and all of those things, but not everybody grew up receiving affection. So, you being a person that wants to maybe touch somebody on the shoulder or the hand, like, and you have ever seen somebody and you get close to them and they jump, like, what are you doing? Like, you're in my space, because you don't know what that person has dealt with. Either they have never got physical touch, and I have done that in my line of work. Just say, do you mind if I hold your hand? Do you mind if I give you a hug? Like, some people have even told me at their age, and I'm talking about somebody in their 60s, they said they have never been hugged. That was the first hug that they can remember. Can you imagine growing
Oh,
up
wow.
and never being hugged? Hmm. That did something to me. Like, I literally went and I cried in another room after I left, dealing with that person. Like that made me really cry. That I know I haven't had a perfect growing up or anything like that. But one thing, I may not have got it from everybody, but I always had somebody in my life. Someone touch you, like, touch on your shoulder. It's gonna be okay. Hold their hand or something like that. But to not experience physical touch, that does something with your mind. That it
Yeah,
messes you up. It really
it
does.
does. It does. And Miss Marlene, again, our parents were raised in a different era, right, than we were. Back then, especially when my parents were born, which it was, in the 30s. Um, Normally they will have the babies and they will have them, in a lot of babies at a time. But the people that could afford will have babies, and the nurse will raise the baby, right? Moms weren't really involved in the upbringing of them. But the person that brought me to this world, my mom, she lost her mother when she was very young. I think she was like 7 or 8 years old. And so she grew up in an era without a mother, in where affection wasn't really open. Like, her aunties weren't loving. They weren't, the type that, will hug you and kiss you and love you. They weren't that type. They were more like, kids are supposed to be seen but not heard type of thing.
Yep.
So she grew up in a very unaffectionate era. And so bringing us up, and that's the one thing, Miss Marlene, that I had to come to terms with, is that, bringing us up for her, she had no, how can I put it, no point or nowhere in her lifetime that she had received unconditional love, that she was, made to hug and touch anyone. They were always kept at a distance. So that's the way she brought us up, to the point where we wanted to hug her. She would be like, "What's wrong with you? What are you doing? Let go." And even, sometimes my brothers, when she was getting out of the car, even now, when she's getting out of the car, will extend a hand and she'll be, "No, that's okay. I can do it myself." And she's almost 90. You know what I mean? So it's sad to see that someone has been unloved and untouched for so many years, and that they pass that on to their children sometimes.
Hmm.
What me and my sisters did is we broke that mold. We promised ourselves, no matter how uncomfortable it was, because my dad was very loving to us, but my mother wasn't. So we didn't know how to mother, right, our children, because we had no model from. But we made a promise between the three sisters that we were going to love our kids and show them love and touch them and hug them, because we had never had that from our mother. So we did that, as uncomfortable as it was, Miss Marlene, because let me tell you, it was kind of weird
Hmm.
because we didn't know. But I learned, and I've overloved my kids. Like, I hug them. Even now that they're in, almost 40, I still go there and baby them. And growing up, I was so on top of everything they did, on, loving and hugging and whatever. Sometimes they'll be like, "Mom, you're like a helicopter. You're hovering. Let us be. We're okay. We don't need to be love bombed today, mother."
Yes,
But
I understand. I understand that, Miss Nixie, because that was the thing for me too. Like you were saying, that was the opposite for my father. See, my father grew up with his mother, but not his father, and
mhm,
and that was one of the things that it was he and it was very strange to me that he grew up with all women but never got affection and hugs and
yeah,
kisses. That was strange to me because I would think that that would make you very like hypersensitive to feelings and stuff. But he says
mhm,
because think about it, if all the women in his life had to grow up being mother and father, they grew up tough. tough as nails, almost like they were had more testosterone than estrogen, right? So, um, that's one of the reasons why I used to be like, why won't my dad? I was like, why don't you hug me? Like one day, it like really ticked me all the way off, and I was going to hug him, and he was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Why won't you hug me?" I was like, "What's wrong with you?" And he was like, "Why are you the only one that needs hugs?" And I was like, "Because I do. Because I was like, you're gonna get this hug." I said, "You're gonna get this hug, okay?" And I was the one that broke the mold with my dad because he was like, "You're never gonna give up on this hug thing, will you?" And every day, because I was like determined. I was like, every day when I would like in the morning, hi dad, and I give him a hug until one day I didn't hug him and he was like, no hug today. I was
Oh
like,
wow!
oh yeah.
I broke him. I broke him. Yes, I broke him. Did you do
So
a lap dance?
yeah,
I broke him. Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I was like. I was so excited about it. And then I remember when my siblings came by and my dad was like, "Hey guys," and going to give them a hug. And my siblings are all like, it was one of those very uncomfortable, like, what's going on here things. Like they were just standing there. And I was like, it's okay. Hug. I was like, hug him back, hug him back. They had to learn that it was okay and safe. So I think it's important if you grow up in that for someone to break the generational curses. And I was determined to break lack of affection going forward in my family. I was determined, like being like 8 years old, and I was like, everybody's gonna get hugs, even though they pushed me away, said I was weird, like what's wrong with you? But I was like, it's okay, it's all good. I said, when you guys are ready, come get your hugs from Marlene. I still remember that. I was like, one day you're gonna be begging me for my hugs, but it's okay. I'll give you a break this time. And now my family has come around, and there's affection. So somebody has to bring it into the family.
Yes. My father grew up with his grandmother, his mom, and grandpa and dad around. And so he got a lot of loving from grandma and mom, but not from his father.
Mm,
So my dad, his father was more like, do this, do that. You're supposed to be the man. You're not supposed to have those feelings, blah, blah, blah. So my father had a little bit of a hard time loving or showing love, not loving, but showing love to my brothers, I think. Because
mm.
to us, he was very loving to us girls. Oh my God, he adored us.
But
But
that's because you were girls.
yes, but to my brothers, he's like, everything is fine. Yeah, yeah, okay, good, good. You're okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. And I'm like, Dad, you could hug him and say, everything is great. My brothers will be like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
But they learned as well as they got older that kind of like we see my dad and we'll jump on him and hug him and how you doing, daddy, whatever. But my brothers be like, hey dad, how are you? And that was it. I'm like, you haven't seen him for like 3 4 months and that's it. We're guys. I go, that has nothing to do with it. This is your dad. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It has nothing to do with guys. You can show emotion too. And my sisters would be like, shh. But
Yeah.
I was the one, saying, mention it, voicing it, and thank God that they came around as they did because now that my father is gone, they can say, you know what, I did give my dad a big hug. I did get to experience love from my dad.
Hmm. Yeah, and
So
I and I
important.
and I and I think it's important to say that, you know, little girls and little boys need hugs and kisses, even if they don't like it. Even if they're like, oh, yuck and disgusting, but I know that they secretly love it because it happens in my family too. Like the boys are like, oh, come on, I'm a boy, I'm almost a man, but I could see them smiling too. So it's okay. It's okay to teach the next generation that even though I didn't have it personally, but I want to give you that as a gift because you don't want to tarnish their relationships in the future, feeling that they have to get love outside of themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly. It's
So,
hard to be
yes, it is hard. And this is a very tough one right here, Miss Nexie. Why are some men and women incapable of love? We're just going to say it because they have mental illness.
yes.
Hmm.
Sometimes,
Yeah,
sometimes
yeah.
things
Some,
that are, you said this before, undiagnosed.
yes. But you know, Miss Nexie, that is one of the biggest populations is undiagnosed mental illness, and it happens so much in urban communities that there's so much mental illness because of the stigma. Oh no, nothing is wrong with me, but everybody knows that something is not right with them, and they don't want to accept, either they don't want to accept it, or people have dealt with it so long that it becomes acceptable. But whether a person has a diagnosis or not, when something is not right with a person mentally, it makes it very difficult for them to show love, because the way they think, the way they act is very erratic. So that makes it very, it's a very difficult thing to love somebody who has mental illness. Mm.
It is. And also, remember, in our father's and mother's time, it was very difficult to say, yes, there's something wrong with that person or there's something wrong with me, because many times they were not going to be able to marry if something was wrong with them, right? They're not going to be able to find a husband, or they're not going to be able to find a wife or whatever. And they didn't even know what mental illness was. We have the awareness now, and look how many people choose not to take care of that because of the same thing, the stigma. And there's nothing wrong with me, the inability to accept that there probably is something wrong with you, right? So for our parents, is I remember, sometimes I will see a relative of mine. She will be yelling at you, Miss Marlene, and going off and in every direction, throwing things at the kids, and very upset. And less than a minute later, she will be asking you if you want anything to eat or drink, and very loving. And I'll be looking at her like, you were just, okay, I don't understand. You want us to get something to, are you gonna hit us if we get something to drink if we say yes? Or she will switch back and forth. And I always, like, you don't know because you're a child, right? You don't know if they're mentally ill or not. You just know that they're weird. Or that people will say, oh, she's having a moment. She's in one of her, moments or whatever. So don't bother her. And then 5 minutes later, they're okay and they don't even remember what they did to you.
Yes.
So I learned now that, as I went through my therapy, I learned that there's a lot of people that are undiagnosed with mental illness. And unfortunately, the family, especially kids and spouses, get the bulk of it, and they pay the price for not, being diagnosed and not being able to work through whatever it is that, they're going through. And so with that person, I was always fearful of crossing. What I didn't understand was that it had nothing to do with me. This person was just mentally ill. And she passed away with any diagnosis, unfortunately.
Wow. That's very sad. And what I was saying is, I'm not saying it to be funny or anything, Miss Nexie, but I see a lot of mental illness on this app. And I can tell already because of my line of work when a person has mental illness. And I'm like, wow. I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. and they definitely have this or that. And I'm not here, I'm not trying to diagnose anybody, make fun of anybody, judge anybody, but it's the reality. Some people have all different, and we all know all of the terms for all of the mental illnesses, but just because you don't take medication, it doesn't give you the right to whatever, um, berate people and scream and act crazy. And then later on, I guess when they normalize, they don't remember what they did. And then here comes the apologies. It's so weird.
It is. It is very weird. And sometimes, they don't show that side of you. But sometimes on certain um, you know, lives or certain shows that they have, you can tell that there's something wrong with that person. Even if they're not berating or littering, but there's certain ways you can pick up that there is something wrong. Like, you know, you shouldn't be here, right? You shouldn't do this now until you get diagnosed or taken care of. And again, we don't mean this to be disrespectful or anything like that, but sometimes you have to protect your mental health. Me, Miss Marlene, when I come across someone like that I'm like, no, no, this is too much for me. I unsubscribe because I don't want to be there. Like, it's not good for my mental health. So I get out. And but I feel like before I do that, I feel like saying, you know what, you should get diagnosed. You should get some help. But I don't want to be on on the end of that.
Yeah, you don't want to be on the other side of it, right?
I don't want to be an entire live about how I dare say that. So I keep it to myself. But sometimes I do want to say to this person, maybe in private, get some help. You need help. This is not normal. The way you are is not normal. And I don't mean that, I am normal and I am, no, no, no. I mean that, take care of that because it can get worse. And the older
Yeah,
we get with untreated mental, illnesses, the worse it gets. It doesn't get better. It gets worse.
yeah. And that's true. And Miss Nexie, and I have to include in this, talking about mental illness, also mental health disruptions, because when things happen to you, how people treat you that are something was off or weird or traumatic, that can really affect you for many, many years. And you have to allow yourself to process those things, like what part was me. That took me a while for me to process those things, like what was me, what role did I play in the situation, what was the other person's, you know what did they do, what was their action that was wrong,
Hmm.
and then asking yourself also, and also what did I allow. I think that part right there has helped me in deciphering, you know what was my wrong, what did I allow, and what can I change so that I don't keep choosing toxic people. Because that's what happens a lot when someone hurts you. You are looking for somebody as toxic as what you've been around. And I had to
Yeah.
unlearn the toxicity and the negativity and the drama and all of that, and remind myself that that's what happened to me, but that doesn't mean that's what I deserve.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't make it okay. And again, as you work on your mental health, as you work on yourself, you have this clear view on what you like and don't like, what you can allow and and reject to maintain your healthy mind. And that's, for me, is very important, that if I don't feel comfortable around you and the people that follow you, right? Because my mind is not at ease and it's not accepting most of the things that I said, then I get out. Because again, it's my choice to follow you, I chose to get out. Um, what I do not like is, people that are confrontational in this, YouTube streets. People that are always, bringing dirt or beefing with others. And I don't like that. You know that, Miss Martina. I always stay
Yeah.
away from people. As much as I like them as a person sometimes, but then I think, if you're this way when we're just chatting, but then you turn into that, then there's something wrong.
Mhm.
Because I get it, you want that, but maybe that is your true self, and what you're portraying in our private chats is different. It's not you, it's just a persona. And the person there in front of, the live audience in your, you know, live is who you are. So when people like that, I have come across them, I now I have the ability to say, yeah, no, you're not going to stay in my life for long. I'm going to, do certain things, but you're not going to be part of my life for very long because I don't approve the things that you say or the things that you think. And we can
Right.
get out, but it takes a long time to get to that point where you can discern, right? If
You
that person
can.
matter
You can,
or
Miss
maybe.
Next. You can. You can. And I think it all comes down to I have this point and then we have one more. But I do think that this is very important for us to understand that it's not always us. Some people are just selfish by nature,
Yeah.
and no matter what, you can give everything, you can do all of the things, you can be nice, kind, sweet, they will never appreciate you, they will never be grateful or thankful. They're just inherently selfish. So and you can't love somebody who is selfish, because at a
Oh,
certain point, you know, I do understand having self love, self awareness, self compassion. All of those things are important for every single human being to possess in their own right. But at the same time, especially in a romantic relationship, it cannot be that that person is all about them and it's never about you, because it just won't work. And also it can trickle down into all relationships. If you are around somebody and they are inherently selfish, they make like you're talking about something and everything goes back to them. Every situation, oh yeah, that happened to me, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that, oh yeah, I'm better than that, like everything is them. uh, that's a person that they're
yeah.
incapable of loving, because all they think about is themselves.
Exactly. And again, you sometimes you are a little selfish with your time, a little selfish with the pie you like, a little selfish with that ice cream you like,
Yes.
and those snacks that you like, but you're not selfish enough to not, at least if somebody is craving it, you will give them a little bit here, 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 just, but this is all mine because I bought it and I'm selfish about my things. But, with love and understanding and compassion, all of that, you're not selfish about that, because I know that we can all be a little selfish sometimes, but when that selfishness overtake everything else in your life, that's when it's a problem. When you're so selfish that even your love, you don't give it to people that, deserve it, or, um, the something that you probably don't even use anymore, somebody else needs it. You're that selfish that you wouldn't part with it. So there's certain things, there's certain people that are just inherently selfish. You
Hmm.
cannot change that. That's who they are.
Yeah, and when you're in a romantic relationship with somebody who is selfish, all they think about is how they feel, what they want, and their sexual desires. But it's never about you and how you feel and your section. Everything has to go when they want it to go, and it has to be their way. It's one of those relationships, and of course it can go across all types of relationships, all forms. But in this, in talking about a romantic relationship, if you're with somebody and the basis of the relationship is supposed to be love, like how can you be in a relationship with somebody who is all about themselves?
You
That
can't.
that's crazy.
Yep, you can't, because even to give their time, or again, or their love, it's either all about them morning, and and you cannot get distracted when you're with them and pick up a phone call or text someone, because they get so upset because that's your time with them. Family comes over, they get upset because how dare you? You were supposed to have this time all for me. You can help others because they don't understand. It's a very, very hard living with someone like that, or being
Yep.
around someone like that.
And it's very difficult to have a friend that is very selfish. It's very difficult to have, because the difference with um a friendship is a person you chose. It's not like somebody that you're like, that's a blood, this is a blood relative, like I can't help it, they're gonna be in my life. But but when it comes to a friendship, if you have somebody and they're always selfish, they never consider you, it's like that you're the one that has to always be putting in all of the work. It's a one-sided thing, and you can never be happy and fulfilled if
Yep.
a
And
person
you have to be
is
telling
not
them
your friend.
minute by minute what you're.
Go ahead, Miss Nexie.
Oh, no, no, I'm saying you have to tell them minute by minute doing with when they're with you. It's so it's for me. It's energy drain. Like when I'm with someone that is selfish, they drain my positive energy, and that's when I
Mhm.
know the person is too self-centered, too selfish. I gotta go. This is too much
Yeah,
for me.
yeah. But it's very draining and very toxic. And we are here, Miss
Yes.
Nexie, at the last point, which we probably should have started with first, but we didn't. But anyways, why are some women and men incapable of love? Unfortunately, some people have been cheated on. And when that happens to some people can't move past it. They never get over it. And I don't think it's something you get over it, but you just learn to get through it. And some people like over what fixate on it, like, oh, this happened to me, and then they think, oh, the next person, oh, everything that they do, they're looking at them, so, oh, where are you going, oh, who are you going with, and then the jealousy starts. So some people, they never heal from being cheated on, and because of that, it gives them
No.
so many other
Um,
issues.
you know the part, we've lived a lot of life. I always say, me longer than you, of course, very much longer. But the one thing, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. When you have a healthy mind, that you have worked very hard to get where you're at, right? Because you and I have put the time, have done the exercises, we have done everything we can to have the mind that we have today, and get rid of our demons, right? But I came across women, and again, I I'm gonna talk about this because it's something that I have experienced. I have come across a few women in my family and friends, extended friendships, that I came across one lady whose husband had left her for another woman, and left her with three children. And she took up drinking and the kids were little when this happened. By the time I met her, her daughters were already young ladies. And this woman will drink herself to stupor every single day, to the point where, her daughters, already adults, one of them married, had to make sure that she was okay, kept on checking on her because she couldn't stop drinking from that pain. And their dad had moved on. They had, a somewhat weird relationship with him, but she took up drinking, and she stayed single. I lost contact with them after a while because they moved to another state. So I don't know if she's continued on, but she had been drinking for years at the point I met her. And it always puzzled me that how can someone make you get that low in your life and you not loving yourself enough to get out of that, right? And then I came across somebody else at work. She was a functioning, alcoholic. Again, same thing. The husband left, and she was left with a child, and I think he left with a family member. And this woman, sometimes we smell the alcohol, and I would tell her, you know what, you kind of smell like that. I have to report this because I haven't drank. I said, but you probably did last night. So, yeah, last night, but not today. Well, then next time do something to cover it because it was so strong. And we found out, because somebody else reported it, I didn't, because it wasn't on my time that she came drunk, but somebody else reported it. And we found out that that's what she would do every day. Getting out of work, she would just get plastered and come to work the next day. Okay, maybe hungover. But the thing is, I have seen that side of people, and I've never been able to be like that. Like, I went through something very similar, very painful. The one thing that I did say is that, I'm never getting married again, meaning signing that little piece, that little line of
Yep.
till death part. I didn't say I'm not going to date. I just said I'm never getting married again. That's the only thing I said. But it didn't take me into that tailspin, because the minute that happened to me and I started feeling the pain and the uneasiness and the, everything that comes with when somebody betrays you, because it's very painful, Miss Margie, let me tell you. It's
Mhm.
very, very painful, especially if it's with a family member. That does a number on you that maybe nothing else will ever do. When I started feeling that weird, pain, and I couldn't even breathe, what I did is I went back to therapy, and that saved me.
Yes. Yeah. I'm telling you, Miss Nexie, when things like that happen to you, like anybody who's ever been cheated on, the first thing is just like the shock, the denial, like the anger. It's all those things, and you have to go through all of those emotions. But what some people do is they never um, come to terms with. Also, remember you did something too. It may not be that you cheated like they did, but there was some breakdown in the relationship, you know, and you have to assume accountability of that. Like, but did I not spend time with them? Was I not listening to them? Was I unkind? You have to take ownership of that part too. And therapy is the thing that got me thinking that way, because I was like, but they did this. And they're like, yes, of course, we accept that the action that was wrong, but also what happened? What was the breakdown in the relationship that for the reason why they did that? See,
Hmm.
some people, they never allow their mind to go there because all they do is think about, well, they did this and they cheated on me and they hurt me. And yes, of course, those things, I'm never going to say, oh, those things are right. I'm not going to rationalize wrong behavior, but at the same time, we also have to look at, where was our breakdown? Did we not
Yes.
communicate? did we not have the proper actions? Were we unkind to them? Did we, kind of shun them like, oh, I'm too busy. I got this going on. So it's all of those things that can be a reason why people act the way they act. Not that we're saying it's okay, but we have to look at both sides of the coin, which a lot of people don't look at. It's not just one sided.
Yeah. Well, I
There's
mean,
a
as
reason
perfect
for
as I am, Miss Marlene, as perfect as I am, Miss Marlene, it wasn't my fault, right? It was all his fault.
it. Yes,
And
listen, Miss
that's
Nexie.
the hard.
Everybody who has ever been through that sort of betrayal with, being cheated on, it does feel that way. It's all them. They did and they did, and yes. But then it took me a while for me to look at myself and say, yes, they did that, but also what were you doing? And then if you really sit and think, you'd be like, hmm, when they were trying to talk to me, I ignored them. I was always busy. I was working too much. So when you can be accountable for yourself, you can make sure that you do not have that sort of behavior moving forward if you so choose to be in another relationship.
And again, when my therapist, Miss Barney, when I went back to therapy, I told you I was all about he did this, he. It was all his fault. And my therapist made it very clear the betrayal, the cheating, yes, it was his fault because he chose to do that, right? But why did that relationship between the two of you go, got messed up or it ended? Why? The cheating was his fault, but there's a reason why. And it wasn't just him because the relationship is of two people. So that's when he asked me, what role did you play in the breakup or the disintegration of your relationship? Or the so whatever you want to call it. He said, what role did you play for the relationship to end this way? And I didn't understand this, as I once said here in one of our lives, and certainly it's like, oh, whoa, wait, what? What do you mean? What role did I play? I was so upset because he asked the question out loud that I had been asking myself in a very low tone, but not listening to because I was so upset that he cheated that I was blaming him for everything. And yeah, the cheating part was his fault because he could have come and talked to me and said, you know what, I don't want this anymore. We're gonna go our separate way, and we'll work details on the kids, whatever it is. He could have said that before he cheated, right? But then again, was I available for him to do that?
Mm.
Was I willing to? So a lot of times, yes, it's easier to point the finger at the other person because it's less painful. Because no matter what, there is a role you play. Whether is it that you neglected this person, or whether is that you saw signs that he was a certain way and you didn't voice them, and you allow them to just whatever, it's okay, he'll never gonna do that. Or was it because you're so focused on the kids, raising them, that you forgot, you know, the part of being a wife, a spouse, and being a couple and a partner in crime. So all those things, I had to take into consideration. And once I added those things up, I understood that yeah, the cheating part was his choice, but the lack of communication, the lack of a special time between the two of us, the lack of all of that has dwindled to nothing by the point this happened, right? Because I was so busy raising our children, I neglected them. So I had to understand that, and I had to come to terms with, yeah, there was a part I played, not on the cheating part because that's all him. He made that mistake, right? But I played a part on distancing myself from my husband because I was so busy with my children, with our children, which I always take ownership of them. But I was so busy raising them, and so enrolled in the education and this and after curriculum activities and making sure that they were okay, that I forgot the couple part of our marriage.
Yep. And I think, and you're so right, Miss Nexie, because people forget about the maintenance of all relationships. And
Yes.
I think that's a good topic for our next sip and chat.
Yes, it
How,
is.
how we can maintain our relationships, because I think all relationships need maintenance. But before we leave this topic today, I want to say that, it's not our fault if people don't love us. It's not your fault when people are rude or unkind. Some people have made a choice to be miserable. They've made a choice to be selfish. They've made a choice to not get therapy. They've made a choice to not grow up or not communicate. They've made a choice to be cold and harbor resentment. That part is not our fault. But what is our fault is when we know that a person is a certain way and you choose to stay with that person. You choose to think maybe I can change them. See, that is where that just it's very unbalanced, and it's not going to work because the only person you're going to make miserable is yourself.
Yeah. And adding up to what you said, I couldn't have said that better myself. Yeah, they have chosen to be everything that you said, that previously said. But, the if you choose to stay with someone like that, if you choose to continue on with someone like that because um you think that, as you said, you can change them, or you think that you can overcome that, then that problem falls on you. That's a you problem. There's all the signs are there, right? They have shown you their true colors. Now, if you choose to stay there, then that's a you problem. That's something that you have to deal with later on in life. It's not something that you don't know, because you can tell when these people are a certain way, right? When they're not kind, when they're rude sometimes in the way that they approach you, the way sometimes that they talk to you. If you choose to stay with them because I love him and I know that he loves me and he can change, then you're lying to yourself, because people will not change for you. They don't change for anyone. If they're gonna change, they're gonna change because they want to. So staying with someone like that, or surrounding yourself with people like that, it's only gonna make you miserable if you don't share the same beliefs, the same ways. So my thing would be, Marlene, when I feel that the friendship is not right for me, the relationship is gonna work for me, now I run. I don't stick around. I go the other way, and I choose to put me first, which is something that was very hard for me before. I put me, mental health, my body and mind, my spirit, everything. I choose to for, and I don't allow people, because another thing is that you allow these people to be in your life. So I don't allow them. I don't choose them. I choose me, and I allow me to be happy. The choice that
That's right, Miss Lexi. And we always talk about over here how important the relationship we have with ourselves. And no matter how you were treated when you were growing up, no matter who accepts you or likes you or supports you, you have to have love for yourself. I always will spread that, self love, self worth, self compassion, self kindness. You got to take care of yourself too, but also you have to be very aware of who you allow in your heart, who you trust, because some people that you may be trusting, you're hoping, you're wishing, you're praying, you want them to do certain things, but they aren't, and that they don't, and you're helping to nurture toxicity. So the best thing that you can do is cut off people who are incapable of loving you.
Hmm.
It's the best thing for you.
Exactly, Miss Marlene. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, great sip and chat. Thank you guys so much for your support. Thank you for coming. Any final words, Miss Nexie?
No, I think you've said them all, Miss Marlene. I just looking forward to next week's sip and chat. That's gonna be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah, it'll be great. Thank you guys so much for coming. Shout out to the mods. Shout out to the channel members. And anybody listening on the replay, leave me a comment in the comment section below. And be sure to subscribe if you're new. Thank you, Miss
Thank you.
Nexie.
Hit the like button, everyone. Thank you, Miss Marlene, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We appreciate very much. I myself appreciate very much your support for Miss Marlene. So continue on, and remember to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't, and leave a comment.
Yes. Thank you
Bye.
guys. See you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.